The Chasam Sofer in Parshas Behaloischa offers an incredible revelation. We know that the Meraglim came back right before Tisha B'Av, and that night they gave the false report, and the people cried. But what were the Meraglim doing on Shiva Asar B'Tamuz? Says the Chasam Sofer, it is well known that the Meraglim were dispatched on Chaf Tes Sivan. Kulam Anoshim, Rashi B'nai Yisrael, Hema. Rashi says at that moment they were still Kisherim. Why? Because they were sent out in Chodesh Sivan, before Chodesh Tammuz, which is the month of the Samach Mem, as Reb Shamshin of Ashtapol reveals, the Hayamim, Yemei Bikurei Anavim, the letters before Anavim are the Samach Mem, and then the Aleph Lamed. So the majority of the time the Meraglim spent scouting out the land was under the auspices of Tammuz and Av, but at least the first day was still under Sivan. Says the Chasam Sofer, the whole trouble of the Meraglim came about because they were sent out on Chaf Tes Sivan. They returned on Shiva Asar B'Tamuz. And then the next 20 days until Tisha B'Av is when they came back. The whole trouble of the Meraglim was all because they were returned on Yud Zayin B'Tamuz. The Lashon of Chasam Sofer on page Mem Daled, Chasam Sofer Parshas Behaloischa, Ki Yadua, Ki Kol Takolas Meraglim Haya Al She'ira Chazirasam B'Yom Yud Zayin B'Tamuz. By the way, it seems difficult because Yud Zayin B'Tamuz L'chayra was not the 20th day, it was the 19th day. If you make a simple cheshbon, Chav Tes, Lamed, Aleph Beis Gimel, Dalet Hey Vav Zayin Ches Tes, Yud Yud Aleph Yud Beis Yud Gimel, Yud Dalet, Tes Vav, Tes Zayin, Yud Zayin. Presumably they didn't return until the following day. And then after that day, they had 20 days until Tisha B'Av. But these are the words of the Chasam Sofer. Chasam Sofer makes a cheshbon. They left Sinai, we know, on Chaf Iyar. It should have taken 11 days. It only took 3 days. But because of that, the people complained, and they were delayed a month, and then 7 days for Miriam being Tisager, and they got delayed until the end of Iyar, and then they did not send out the Meraglim until Chaf Tes Sivan. But had they just traveled 11 days from Chaf Iyar until Beis Sivan, they would have sent out the Meraglim, they would have come back, they would have returned, they would have turned around on Chaf Aleph Sivan, and everything would have been fine. But because they traveled the 11 days and 3 days, and then they complained, so they got delayed for 30 days, and then the Shivas Yamim of Miriam, so they didn't send out the Meraglim until Chaf Tes Sivan. What happened was the Meraglim returned. They started their Chazara on Yud Zayin B'Tamuz. Ki Yadua, Ki Kol Takalas, Meraglim Hoya Al She'ira Chazirasam Yom Yud Zayin B'Tamuz. How this calculation works out exactly, it's difficult to understand, but according to the calculation of Chasam Sofer, it really links the tragedy of Tisha B'Av, which is the Chet HaMeraglim, with Shiva Asar B'Tamuz, because Shiva Asar B'Tamuz is when they made their about face, until ultimately they offered their bad report, which culminated with the Bechir Shel Chinam on Tisha B'Av. This is the astounding revelation of Chasam Sofer about Shiva Asar B'Tamuz.